I'm Charlotte, I'm Albie's mum. Albie was diagnosed with LAL-D and he's now 4 years old. Albie was born, he was absolutely fine. He was £5 when he was born. Everything was fine for about 2 weeks. He started developing sickness and diarrhoea. So we took him to the doctors. They gave him some lactose milk. They thought maybe it could be that he's lactose intolerant. So we went down that route and started him on a new milk. And it sort of carried on. Everything I fed him was going in and straight back out. After a couple of weeks of being on that milk, we went back to the paediatrician. And they said, oh, it's reflux. And this sort of was ongoing for a further 3 weeks. And I took him to the doctors because I said, he's quite lifeless now. You know, he's not waking up to be fed. He's hardly had anything. He also had a hernia, and it was quite large. It was just in his groin. So we got referred to hospital for that. We went to our local hospital. They did a few blood tests, and one of the doctors said, well, something's not quite right. By this stage, he was about 2 months old. I hadn't put on any weight. He was £5 when he was born. I think he went to about £6. His arms and legs were tiny, really, really small. He had quite a big belly as well. Albie's liver was quite enlarged. I mean, like, you're not supposed to feel your liver, but his was in his groin, hence why I think his belly was so big, and his spleen. From our local hospital to our other local hospital, we was referred, and we stayed there for about 4 weeks, having lots of different tests, and no one was able to find anything. Our boy was still poorly, if not he was getting worse. So we asked to see a specialist. We got sent to a hospital in London. The consultant came to see him, and she looked at him and she said, if I'd have known he was like this, you would have been here weeks ago. I said, so what's the outcome of this? And she said, well, he'll either live or he'll die. And I'll never forget those words, you know. And that was the start of our journey. She couldn't diagnose him straight away, so she went on to do some tests, and literally that day was quite intense, you know. We was there for about a week. The consultant came round and she took me and my partner to a room, and she said, unfortunately, Albie, we think Albie has a storage disorder. Which one we're not 100% sure. We're going to take some bloods today and send them off to Manchester. She confirmed it was the metabolic condition that she thought it was, and what she said was the children's was quite rapidly aggressive, so they don't normally live past a year old. And so I said, is there anywhere in the world I can go? And she said, I'm speaking to consultants around the world, different metabolic consultants, and we have came up with somewhere where you can go for a clinical trial. It didn't matter the fact that it was a clinical trial, it was something, so I was quite happy. The first sort of year, there was no one else with the condition, and I was told there probably wouldn't be in my lifetime because it being so rare and people not knowing enough about it. The children were going misdiagnosed and they were dying, and no one really knew why. It also had lots of doctors wanting to come round and look at him, in fact, not just talk about the fact that they needed to see what he looked like. I didn't want any other child to be misdiagnosed and have to go through what he went through. So the first 4 or 5 months, he was poked and prodded, and although it was hard to see, it was for the best, because since then there's been quite a lot more children been found since Albie's been born. So I feel like he's helped in a way. I don't have any other children to sort of compare, like, what's different about my life to someone's normal day-to-day thing. Obviously, it is quite different in terms of feeding. Albie doesn't eat much by mouth, so he's fed through a button. And he gets fed overnight, which is difficult because it's not nice being fed overnight, for one. It was hard for me to try and be normal with him, so try and do the things that I would have done hadn't he been unwell. And I'd always want to go out and I'd always want to do things with him. Like every day I'd wake up and like, what can we do today? Can we take to Toys R Us? Can we? So he's probably quite spoiled in a way, just because I never knew what was going to happen the next day. It will be okay, or I don't know that, but I've got to live for now, not thinking what's going to happen next week. And from then onwards, things have been a lot easier, and I just treat him like any normal child now. I try to.